over TikTok and China's influence over it dominates Capitol Hill today. Here's a look at some of the lawmakers who still have TikTok accounts. Senator Bernie Sanders has 1.4 million followers. Senators Cory Booker and John Fetterman and Congresswoman Ilhan Omar all have hundreds of thousands of followers on TikTok. Dozens of states have now placed bans on TikTok on government devices, including South Carolina, where Senator Tim Scott is from. He does not have a TikTok account. Senator, good to have you with us today. Did you ever have a TikTok account? Did you close it? What's your policy?
No, we just don't use it at all. The fact of the matter is, here in America, TikTok seems to be one of the ways to have the Chinese Communist Party spy on our kids and collect more information. I think we don't know where that information goes. We don't know who has it. We have very serious concerns about the security of it. In China, TikTok is an educational tool. They talk about math, science, and reading. In America, it seems to be more of an indoctrination tool. So we have to be very careful on these new tools, so to speak, that we have for our kids when they actually turn out not to be tools at all.
Would you ban it in the entire country? Would you support that?
Yeah, I think the states, 30 states or more, are already heading in that direction. Certainly,
but just on government devices. But I'm asking about for all Americans.
Yeah, I think parents are going to have to make that decision ultimately. I would not allow my kids to have access to TikTok without any question. I think we should seriously have that conversation in the public forum so parents have all the information about the challenges that are happening because their kids are on the devices too much, and let them be the final arbiter in that conversation.
You know, Jamal Bowman spoke out. He says that your party, the Republican Party, is creating a red scare environment around China and TikTok. And here's what he had to say about that. Watch.
Republicans in particular have been sounding the alarm, creating a red scare around China. Let's not be racist towards China and express our xenophobia when it comes to TikTok.
So influencers and other folks were on the Hill yesterday trying to convince people to agree with him. What do you have to? What would you say to him?
Well, unbelievable. If you were going to create a blueprint to ruin America, one of the things you would include in your blueprint is taking China for granted. Not only do they breach our borders with their balloon, not only have they stolen our intellectual property, not only have they seen communist police stations set up throughout New York and other parts of the country, not only have we seen the Made in China plan that takes our intellectual property, creates the battery future of EVs of the future, and they've also sown seeds in Africa and around the world in the Belt and Road projects that allows governments to go so far in debt that they can't find their way up. Taking that as an adversary is smart. Taking it as an ally is just dumb. And then you watch President Xi and President Putin get together for a few days to talk about their strategy for the world. I think anyone that doesn't see China as an adversary, they are asleep at the wheel at best. The truth is that we should have more pressure to make sure that their technology is not embedded in our systems. We should have more pressure to make sure that they are not spying on our military bases by buying property. We should have more pressure to make sure they're not buying agricultural property to take over parts of our country. This is a simple solution. China out, America's up.
You know, what about the role of CFIUS, which is supposed to be the entity in the U.S. government that blocks foreign investment in the country that isn't beneficial, or presents a national security risk? So all the things that you just listed, I'm thinking, what are they doing over there?
Yeah, well, the CFIUS tool is a great part of the apparatus that we have for pushing back. But the truth is, one of the things you have to do with CFIUS is to dig down into all the LLCs and get to the bottom to make sure that you know who the partnerships are. Sometimes those are 100 deep. And so we have to do a better job of investigating on the front end who's buying the property and not on the back end after it's been purchased. So using that tool within the banking apparatus is a strong, powerful tool. And also having a conversation about outbound investment is also important as well. Doing it right as opposed to not doing it all is, I think, an important part of the engagement we'll have in the future. But the truth be told, we still have more opportunities to push back on China as we take our approach to how you live your lives and allow it to spread throughout the world, not by forcing it on countries, but being a model to follow. We should be the city on the hill where everybody wants to be like America. China doesn't just want to be like America, they want to beat America.
So obviously, Senator, a lot of people are waiting for your decision about whether or not you're going to enter the GOP race for the nomination for president. Ron DeSantis is another person who people are waiting to hear from on this. And then there's former President Trump, who's already in this race. He wants to be president again. And we've been watching this situation here in New York with this case where we thought there might be an indictment in this Stormy Daniels payoff hush money situation. Ron DeSantis was interviewed by Piers Morgan, and here's what he said about the underlying conduct that is at issue here from the former president. Watch.
I think there's a lot of speculation about what the underlying conduct is. That is purported to be it. And, the reality is that's just outside my wheelhouse. I mean, that's just not something that I can speak to.
Do you agree with him on that? Are you concerned about the underlying conduct of this case?
One of the things I'd simply say is that red on red violence, so to speak, is something that the mass media enjoys. The road to socialism runs right through a divided Republican Party. So one thing we should do is make sure we keep our focus on the actual problem. That is President Biden. You think about D.A. Bragg from a local perspective. Here's a person who doesn't want to enforce any of the laws anywhere. Violent criminals running rampant. You see rapes are up significantly. Murders are up. Homicides, carjackings, all up. The only thing he wants to do, it appears to me, is weaponize the law against his political enemies. That actually erodes the very foundation on which our legal system is built. We are the freest, fairest land the world has ever known. We should allow ourselves to make good decisions at the ballot box and actually eliminate folks like D.A. Bragg from being in office and using the laws of our country in such a way that leaves more people questioning whether or not we are the greatest country on earth.
All right. We'll continue the conversation, especially if you decide to get into this race. Senator, thank you very much. It's always good to have you with us. We're going to